We have big news. We have exciting news for you. Tell them what it is, Serena.
We are super excited to announce that we are starting our first membership this January 2024.
Yay! Membership.
So we're excited to let you know that we will be hosting a monthly membership where when you join, you will be
with us live in a Zoom room once a month for a workshop like we just hosted. It's going to be a workshop like that, one topic each month, a different topic. You might even help us come up with the following month's topic from inside our membership. Super excited to meet you. It was so fun meeting a few of you in our inaugural workshop. So we're really looking forward to that.
And when you are a member, you will also be receiving a monthly newsletter where I'm going to be a little more intimate and I'll be sharing the things that are working and the things that aren't working for me.
Yeah, like taking a tool that you've learned from the podcast and how you're implementing it and how well that worked, or maybe if it didn't work. And then Amma can put in my 2 bits worth. We'll see how that goes. But a membership newsletter and a membership live Zoom room workshop starting in January 2024. Can sign up through our Patreon link in the show notes, yeah?
Yes, everything will be in the show notes, and we can't wait to see you there, listeners.
We can't wait. Yay!
Hello, my name is Serena. I am a mother to a toddler and currently pregnant.
And hi, I'm Lisa, also known as the Singing Amma. Amma means grandmother in Icelandic. I am a mama and an amma.
The beginning of my first pregnancy, I felt like I was lacking my village, which is why we are here creating a village with you in hopes that you won't feel as isolated as I did.
I also felt the lack of a village in my early parenting years way back when. I have a background in early childhood education, and I have been coaching parents in their journeys for the past 35 years. Mama Serena and I come together to have a conversation each week where we'll be talking all things parenting, keeping it real, keeping it raw, right here with you.
So thank you for joining us here at the We Are the Village Parenting Podcast. We are so happy you could make it. I wish I wasn't nervous.
It's awesome. Serena, being nervous is really good.
Yes.
It's actually really good. Do you know why?
Why?
Because if we're not feeling nervous, we're not living into our big dream.
Yes.
And this is a big dream for us to create this podcast together. Yeah.
Yes. And we've been working at it for 2 months now, right?
I know. So exciting. We're getting so close to launch.
Finally.
Well, this will be the launch when people are hearing this. So
yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome. And this is going to be our first episode. It's our intro, getting to know Mama Serena and Amma Lisa, and us explaining why we creating this and when we were lacking a village and why we want to create a village for you guys.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you, Serena, and with everybody listening in.
Yeah, so maybe we can just start real quick with how we met, because I'm over here in New York and you're all the way
over
in
here
Canada.
Way on a little teeny tiny island on the west coast of Canada.
And it's funny because I'm on a little island on the east coast.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Long Island.
Long Island and Salt Spring Island. Islanders unite across the continent, across the border. Like, that's the wonderful, beautiful thing about this virtual world that we get to live in too, which is a big part of why we wanted to create this virtual village, because it's possible.
Yes. And Kathy Heller, for whoever doesn't know her, brought us together. She had a class called Made to Do This, where I was taking and Lisa was taking, and they have a Facebook group where you can communicate with each other, share ideas, and post your ups and downs. So once I was reading one of Lisa's posts, and
One of my deep downs.
So I reached out to Lisa because we were both interested in something related to parenting. But Lisa also has something else that she was trying to focus on. I thought I was trying to focus on something else, but we both had parenting there. And I was
Mhm.
too nervous to do something myself with it. So I had to reach out.
Yeah, and I love your nervousness. And I really love that you reached out because there we were in this virtual program together. It was a 3-month program. When did we meet? Like close to the end, two
Yeah.
weeks
Right.
before the completion of the program, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. And it was just this little private message that Serena sent to me. Hey, I read that you're interested in parenting and I want to do a podcast and I'm totally terrified. And would you maybe consider working with me? And in our first conversation, I remember that we realized that we're so on the same page with all of this. Even in that, Serena, you are a new mama, you've got a toddler. And then, right when we got started, you discovered you were newly pregnant again.
Yeah.
And me, I'm an amma, a grandma, and I have big grandchildren. I mean, one is turning 15 next pretty quick here. And the other one is 10. So, I have a daughter who's in her 30s. And yeah, so I'm the grandma, you're the mama, and we're in a village together.
Yes. And that's what a village needs, somebody to guide them, somebody with all the experience. You have all the experience. I'm brand spanking new at this. Well, my daughter is 17 months, right? So she's pretty new, and now we have a new one on the way, which is going to be a whole different experience than the first one. But I guess we'll start with me missing my village when I was first pregnant. So I got pregnant at like 25, or I think 24, and I had her at 25. And I was very nervous because I still felt like I was a baby, even though I had been living by myself for 3 years and paying my own bills and taking care of myself and completely independent. But I still felt like I was my mom and my dad's little princess. So I was so nervous to tell them. I was nervous to tell my grandparents. They were very old fashioned. So they wanted me to be married, of course, first, be in
Mm.
my home, have a house with my husband. And that was my plan too. And it just completely did not work out that way. So I was
Mhm.
so nervous to come out to everybody. And I was like, I'm only 24, which isn't bad. It's not a bad age to have kids. And like Amma said, and how we always look back to how it used to be back in tribes, they always had kids young.
Mhm. Oh,
And
yeah. As soon as girls were menstruating, they would be able to procreate and soon they would start having babies. And it wasn't teen pregnancies. That's when a woman's body matured and that's when she started reproducing, bearing in mind that people's lifespan was only to about 30 something, or 40 was old in those days. And yeah, so 24, I was also 24 when I
yeah.
had my baby. Yeah, just before I turned 25.
And now
Mhm.
times have just changed so much, and they tell you go to school, go to college, get your career. I did go to school, I went to college. I didn't get the career, but I started my own organizing business, which was going great. And I don't know, I just still felt like I wasn't ready to start a family. But we were excited. My husband was super excited. I was very nervous because I still wanted to travel the world.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
The surprising pregnancies, the pregnancies that were not planned, all those emotions that you talk about, like being nervous, being, embarrassed to tell your very proper grandparents who would want you to be married before you got pregnant, all of those things, all of the feelings that we feel, they're all totally normal. And unexpected pregnancy is way, 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 way more common than
Mhm.
planned pregnancy.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things that most people don't talk about.
Because who's ever really ready to start a family? It's so scary. but we all do it and we learn as we go. And especially when you have people in your village to guide you, that's always awesome. I don't know, even now, I feel like most of us, it could just be my experience, but I feel like most parents and grandparents, they don't really tell you all the things that you didn't know. Like you see things on movies, you see how the birth goes, but like
Oh,
constipation, hemorrhoids during pregnancy. That's like such a random weird thing that I've never heard my mom say, "Oh, how are you feeling? Are you, going to the bathroom
right,
okay?" Like that nobody prepares
right.
you or tells you.
Or for me, yeast infections. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, during pregnancy. Ah, who didn't tell me that? Why didn't you tell me that? What am I going to do about it? Help.
Yes, yes.
The
So much.
basics, really basics. And we
Yeah.
all, almost all, experience them. Yeah,
And
really good point.
they trick you when they say morning sickness because it's not morning sickness. It's 24/7 sickness. And I really
It sure
experienced
can
that.
be.
Yeah, I experienced that with my this pregnancy now.
Aha.
I lost 10 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. My daughter experienced full on all day long morning quote unquote sickness with her first as well. Yeah, I didn't have it that bad. I did have it.
hmm
But yeah, it can be rough.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you and I have been talking about, Serena, is how many of all these little details are the mamas and the aunties and the grandmas and the older sisters? How many of these details are just not talked about in current day society?
Yeah. I think it's a big problem. I started journaling to my daughter when I found out I was pregnant with her and
Hmm.
just letting her know what I'm going through throughout my pregnancy and even postpartum. And I explained to her how she's changing inside. I explained to her how my body's changing inside and outside. And
What a beautiful thing to do.
yeah, I think
Now
it,
that I think we could create a workshop around that for
yeah,
newly pregnant mamas. That would be sweet.
or like a mama journal.
A mama journaling workshop. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
would be
sounds good.
lovely.
I know
Hmm.
one lady she created an email for her son. And whenever she thinks about it, she sends him emails. And when he's older, he'll get the password to his email and find all
Wow,
these emails
cool.
from his mommy.
Ooh, let's do a workshop about this. This is
Yeah.
cool. This is fun.
But yeah, I just think it's crazy that most of our parents, my parents at least, my grandma, never mentioned any of this stuff. And I think it's important because having a baby changes your body so much. And even after, like, thankfully, my giving birth wasn't hard at all. I walked a lot, I ate pretty healthy, even though I did gain 50 pounds. But I would have like two plates of food and say, well, one's for me and one's for the baby.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But I
Yeah.
did eat healthy, like my vegetables and all that. I didn't eat junk food. I didn't have any sugar problems.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law pushed me to walk a lot. So
Oh, good for
that
her.
was good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thank her for that.
It's interesting too what you say about how, our moms and our grandmas aren't sharing the information. And what I have found, particularly becoming a grandmother, I have found that my daughter, but also the younger generation in general, they don't really want to hear from the grandmothers. They don't, they're doing it their way. You're doing it your way. You don't want to
Yeah.
hear some old person telling you what to do or how to do it, rah, 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 which
hmm
isn't how I try to come across. Even though I have a background in early childhood education, I have, you know, um, child psychology background from child development from birth all the way through the primary school years. So I have a lot of learned wisdom as well as what I've learned in my own life. But so many people these days, we don't respect the elders. There is such little respect for
Yeah.
the elders. We put them away. I mean, I'm not ready to go into a home. I'm a young elder. But we put older people into these care homes, and they're away from their grown-up children, from their grandchildren, from their great-grandchildren. It's like, to me, that's actually really tragic.
Yeah, I agree.
Those people have lived 70, 80, 100 years, whatever it is. Not that most people aren't going into care when they're 70 unless they have other health concerns, but those 80, 90 years of experiences, oh my goodness. Yeah. So I really believe that, not everything I say, people who are listening are going to want to follow. They're going to go, no, that's not for me. Fine. Perfect. Wonderful.
Yes, I understand that. And I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to listen to, they grew up in a different time. So some things are different, but
Mhm.
I like to hear their experiences. Like, I like to know that my grandma didn't have an epidural with my mother. My mother didn't get an epidural with me. Like, I like hearing how it was when they went through it. And I also know when I had Andrea, especially during the pandemic,
Mm.
like, it was very different, but I got a lot of advice that I really wouldn't want to get. And it's okay just getting some advice, but sometimes people are just pushy with it. And I wouldn't even say this is advice from elders. Most of it's from people a little bit older than me, people that just have kids.
Right.
And like, even now being pregnant, a lot of Spanish women tell me, "Oh my gosh, you can't be breastfeeding and pregnant. You're taking all the nutrients from the new baby and giving it to the old baby." And just a lot of that stuff that,
And we know that that's actually not true.
yeah.
We're going to do an episode about that.
And like co-sleeping, so many people would be like, "Oh my gosh, you can't do that. That's so bad. She's gonna stay in your bed forever." But I wanted to stay in the bed with my parents forever. I like
Yeah.
cuddling with them and I like cuddling with my daughter. So, I mean, everybody does it their own way. And I like to hear their experience. Maybe they co-slept and it was bad. And that's okay. I'd like to hear your experience. Your baby is different than my baby. And
Mm.
just hearing the stories always helps. But I
You
just wouldn't be
know,
pushy with the advice.
yeah, well, I mean, unsolicited advice from anybody is not always wanted.
I actually made
So
a shirt for my baby that said, "I didn't hear my mama ask for your advice." When she was tiny, I made her that
that's
shirt.
awesome. Oh, I have so much to share with you and to talk with you about. And I just have like 3 or 4 different tangents to go off on right now.
Yes.
One of them, and I'm just going to touch on them like super briefly, not go into them because they can all become their own podcast episode, I'm sure. One of them is when you were talking about co-sleeping. I did the same thing. My baby slept with me till she was really big. And then she would still come into my bed as a little girl and a bigger girl when she felt like she needed the comforting. And, hello, adults, do we not want someone to put their arms around us and hold us if we're feeling
Yeah.
upset about something? Do we not want somebody else beside us, even if we're not snuggling, but just nearby? I mean, sometimes if you're really upset, you might want to go crawl away to your room and close the door and just sob to yourself. But humans are social mammals, and we need other humans. It's part of what makes us the type of mammal that we are. We're not lone wolves. We're not meant to be. And wolves are actually very social as well. But one of the things I thought of was when I first visited Iceland, and I had a conversation with a woman there who was in the whole broader field of early childhood education. And she was just amazed at how people in North America, as it's depicted in TV and movies, put their children down the hall in another room to sleep, even as brand new tiny babies. She said, why? That is so strange
I
and
can't
foreign.
imagine.
And, the thing is, it's not all over the world. We are those people who are doing that and think that that's the right way are actually the minority around the
Mm-hmm.
entire world. And so what that made me think of was I want to interview a friend sometime who lives in Iceland. And that led me to think, let's interview people from different cultures around the world and
Yeah.
see about, even just for sleeping, right? Like, how do you, in your culture, in your country, what does that look like? Your brand new baby, do you have your baby at home? Do you take them? Do you have them in the hospital? When you are home with your baby, what does that look like? Where does everybody sleep? What happens? That'd be
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Yeah, that would be
Mm-hmm.
very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so for me as a new mama, way back when, in the mid 80s, I had my baby in 1985. Actually, she's turning 36 this month. Um, I felt alone too. I thought where I lived, it's a nice small community. I knew hundreds, if not thousands of people because it's rural and everybody knows everybody. And I had a lot of friends who were kind of similarly, I thought, alternative, like I was in some ways, like living sort of a country lifestyle where we're eating good food and growing our food if we can, and just living closer to the land and all of that sort of lifestyle, which I thought would translate to how we parented. And like one very simple example was that I used cloth diapers. And I was becoming a mama right at the time where disposables were becoming the thing and the way to do it, the way to go. Personally, I would still use cloth diapers if I was a new mama today. We can have a whole podcast about that too, because that's a big conversation. um, and and I just didn't know anybody else who was using cloth diapers. And for me, it's the ecologically friendly way to go. It's the environmentally friendly way to go. It's like, what are we doing? We're going for the easy way, right? Um, and so I actually got a subscription to a magazine that's now only online, but it was called Mothering Magazine, and it arrived once a month. And I would sit down with my cup of tea and I would read the whole thing. And that once a month hit was my village. I felt
Mm-hmm.
so alone. My husband worked evening shifts. So from 4 o'clock on, he would be gone until late in the night. And my baby had colic in the early months and she would get it in the evenings. And, I just would walk around with her, rocking her, singing to her, crying. And I was crying. She was crying. I was crying, and I just felt so alone. And that's one of the things you and I talked about, Serena, right? Where it's
Yeah.
just like, where's our village? And I have always maintained we human beings, the social mammal that we are, were never designed to be alone raising our babies.
Mm-hmm.
In our nuclear family, mama and dad, if you're so lucky to have two parents in the
Yeah.
household,
Yeah.
and one baby or more,
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 4, whatever it is, but just mom, just dad, or just both of those two. And one of them usually would have to go to work. And
Mm-hmm.
these days, so many both have to go to work.
Yeah.
And so it's so far from who we naturally are, I believe.
Yeah, it's just changed 360 or 180. I never know what to say because people say if you do 360, you're right at the beginning.
You're right back at the beginning. Yeah. So maybe it's a 180 right across to a different place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very different. And I know you and I always revert back to tribal times and how it was back then because I mean, I feel like that's the way it should be. Maybe not, that's not the right word, but I feel like that was the best way and things are just changing with everything's just changed. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like I try to, like, you had your magazine. My mom is an hour away. My dad is always working. My grandparents, who I'm closest to, moved all the way to South Carolina and I'm in New York, so they were far away. And it just, I didn't feel like I had my village. I had my mother-in-law, which was a big help, but that's my mother-in-law. It's not a whole village. And I was expecting my friends to come around more, but my friends don't have kids, so they didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand. And everybody has their own life, and that's also part of it. Everybody has their own life. They have their own things to worry about. And I just,
Mm-hmm.
I know after having my baby, I just kind of wanted to socialize, especially like I said, during a pandemic. Like I really was missing a village because it was like
Oh,
nobody can come over. You never
oh,
know. I
so
have a
hard.
like a brand new born newborn baby. I don't know who's been around who and if they should come see my baby. I think my mom had to wait a week to come see her. We told my mother-in-law that we wouldn't bring her around for a week, but I
Mm.
think we only waited like 4 days and might have been almost a week. But we just briefly stopped in so she can see her.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's
and
a whole other
yeah.
dimension that's been difficult. I know mamas here in my community that have pandemic babies, they're
Mhm.
born inside the pandemic, and that's been the life so far. And it's really super challenging.
Yeah.
But I was also going to say, like in the last 36 years since my baby was born, again, so much has changed. Like, I have taught a parenting education 7-week course. I can't even tell you how many times. I have taught it for most of my baby's life, my daughter's life. She's not a baby now. Um, and um, nowadays, when I have thought about running the course, it's 2 hours once a week. And so many parents are like, oh, I couldn't do 2 hours once a week. Like, that's way too much. And I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, wow. Like, what have we done to ourselves? What have we done as a society that has us so busy and so stressed and so stretched to our outer limits that we cannot take 2 hours once a week to actually learn some communication skills, is what this course is, that will help us be the parents that we want to be.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, like parenting in my mind, and you and I have talked about this, we share this view, is the most important job there is on the planet.
Mhm.
The most important. If we are not raising healthy, well balanced, happy humans, we're not going to have a happy, well balanced future. Because they're going to grow up and be the leaders of tomorrow,
Yep.
right? They're going to create what tomorrow looks like. And so we come into parenting without most of us, without any knowledge about how to do it, what to do. A lot of people don't know how to change a baby's diaper. It's not their
Mhm.
fault. They've just never done it before. They've never seen it done before. And we don't want to take the time to learn because we think, I'm the parent. Of course, I know what to do.
Yeah.
Why
Or
should I take lessons from somebody?
mhm. Or
Whatever. Like there's so much. Yeah, so
yeah,
much.
there's a lot because I mean, like you said, most households, two parents need to work, and if it's a one parent household, that one parent usually has to work, and you come home from work, your kid comes home from daycare or school, whatever, then it's usually okay. It depends on their age, but maybe a little interaction, homework, get dinner ready, bath time, bed. And I know a lot of single parents that they're like they have no time, and then they lose their patience because there's no time. Yeah.
Exactly. There's no time. People are out of energy. People are drained. People are tired getting up in the morning and trying to get the kids out the door and trying to get themselves out the door and then coming back and trying to do. So hopefully, as we move forward with our We are the Village Parenting Podcast. Hopefully, we will be able to give you some tips, some tricks, and some tools to learn how to make whatever lifestyle you're living within your own family to make it just that bit easier.
Yes.
That's our hope, that's our goal. And we're going to follow your lead. So if you have concerns or questions, something that you just want to share with us, please do contact us. And we're here. We're here keeping it. What do we say? Keeping it real,
Keeping it raw and
right
here with you.
here with you. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And if you do want to reach out and share or give tips, or like I said, I like hearing how I just like to hear how other people do it. And it can give other people just a new way to look into doing something, just a new perspective, maybe.
Mhm.
Or it can help somebody else, because I don't know, if you figured it out, maybe you can help somebody else figure it out. We would like to help you figure it out, but that's why we want to create the village.
Yes.
So if you want to
we're
interact,
all here together. Yeah. Our vision is that we're sitting around the proverbial campfire, all the women sitting around together, making the food or processing the herbs or the food that we just gathered from the meadows and the mountainsides, whatever. And we're just talking about it all. We're just going to talk about it all together. Everything, all of it. The nitty gritty, the icky, the everything.
The hemorrhoids,
the hemorrhoids, all of it. Yeah. And the joyful and the playful and the adorable. Yeah.
But if you would like to interact with us, you can join our Facebook group, the Village Parenting Community. And there it's all mothers, it's all women. So feel free to share what you want to share, ask what you want to ask. And I know I joined a million Facebook groups, but I never really felt connected. So I would like this to be a place where if not one person feels connected, at least 3 other people do. And because maybe it's not for everybody, but we're making this, so hopefully we can help somebody.
I just want to interject and say, if there's men listening in to the podcast, which we hope there are,
yes,
we are not excluding you from the podcast or the Instagram account. You can follow for sure. And we decided to create a space just for the mamas on the Facebook community.
Yes. And our Instagram is the Village Parenting Pod. So that's our Instagram, the Village Parenting Pod, and our Facebook is the Village Parenting Community. And if you could just fill out the little survey when you try to join, just so we can have an idea of your background, a little idea, and to collect your email so we can let you know when our podcasts are dropping and just share information with you.
And when we have workshops and other exciting things coming up for everybody too.
Yes, this is just the beginning. There's going to be a whole world coming into this.
A whole world in our village. Our village and the whole world.
All right. So thank you, Mama Lisa.
Thank you, Mama Serena.
And that was a short little intro, but you'll be getting to know us through more episodes. Like we said, there's so much to talk about, and we'll always be getting into a new topic and sharing all the nitty-gritty stuff. So if we get into that, that might be a 3-hour episode that we can't do right now, because no mama has time for that.
No, Mama. And we will be keeping our regular episodes to 20. Maybe they'll stretch to 30, but we're going to keep them under that half-hour mark because we know just how busy you are, mamas. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here with us. And thank you for creating this village together with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here with us in our virtual village. We'd love you to join our Facebook group at The Village Parenting Community and on Instagram at The Village Parenting Pod.
And if you enjoy our podcast, please like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you have a moment, please leave us a review. It makes a big difference for us in reaching more parents out there who may be feeling alone.
Please direct message us to connect also. We absolutely love hearing from you. And until next week, we'll be keeping it real and raw right here with you.
This podcast is sponsored by the Singing Alma's private parent coaching and workshop offerings, and also by Enlightened Designs for Crafty Mamas.